Western media will often like to depict to you that Germans are the ones who started World War II. And although this is the truth, I am not denying it, there are other European ethnicities out there who have committed massacres and atrocities in the name of the Third Reich. I'm not talking about the Western Allies. I'm not talking about the Soviet Union, who have also done war crimes as well too back in the past. But I'm talking about those foreign Europeans who are not Germans, who collaborate with the Nazi regime to fight for whatever reason that is not mentioned. And today, I will dive into that. Good morning, my name is Dayton Moore, and today I will present to you of the research question of why would these foreign volunteers in Europe want to volunteer themselves to Germany within the Third Reich to go ahead and fight for unknown reasons. And I'll be diving into those motivations for today. And my solution to that research question is that these volunteers were given rewards by the Third Reich in order to go ahead and fight for them, and that they were also having the same ideas and viewpoints as the Nazis to begin with. Another point would be because they wanted to unite against a common enemy. This could be the Soviet Union or the Allies in Western Europe. But first, before we even dive into any of that, into those three perspectives, we have to dive into the psychology first. The stimulus sourced by Moral Courage and Intelligent Disobedience stated that they planned and schemed as a group, so there was no loneliness involved. The attackers could be said to have physical courage in order to act into grave bodily harm and death, and perhaps in their own courage and sacrifice themselves for their own extreme beliefs. This is not talking about the foreign volunteers that I'm trying to talk to you right now about. It's talking about the Islamic attackers that started the September attacks within the United States. But we can clearly make a connection to this because they both had a similar viewpoint of wanting to motivate themselves in order to go ahead and carry out any other attacks that they want to. And let's dive into these three perspectives now. The rewards that were given by the volunteers varied from German pensions and also German citizenship. And we can view this clearly by the Ukrainians in this case. When the Third Reich would invade the Soviet Union, Ukraine was one of the proxy states of the Soviet Union back in the past. And so, therefore, they would see the Germans as the liberators in this case, and would take up arms to fight within the German army to go ahead and get the rewards that were affected and given out by the Third Reich. Another good example of this would be the Rexist Party within German-occupied Belgium. The Rexist Party would rat out Jews and Belgian resistant groups who tried to liberate Europe, and for this, they gained German pensions and also citizenship as well too. Now let's dive into ideologies. It's said that Nazism is a far-right ideology. I'm pretty sure all of you in this room can agree on that as well too. However, there are also other Europeans who also have the same viewpoints and also the same ideas as the Nazis in this case of the country. A good example of this is the Ustasha government within Croatia. The Ustasha saw the Third Reich as a good example of what was to come of a great far-right state, since the Third Reich had an ethno-state of their own. The Croatians also wanted an ethno-state, and they also wanted to start ethnic cleansing, similar to what the Germans had started doing back in 1939 all the way to 1945, as we see with the Jews. We can pretty much use this as an example as to why they would try to align themselves with the Nazis in order to go ahead and fight for them, using that as a motivation. Moving on, uniting against a common enemy. Some of these Europeans felt pressured in this case when it came to European aspects of what was going on in the world. You had the Soviet Union to the east, you had the Allies to the west who were promoting democracy. And then within Central Europe, you had fascist governments like Italy and Germany rising up. So needless to say, you can felt these non-aligned European powers trying to go ahead and scavenge and trying to align themselves with whatever ideology they see fit. A good example of this would be the country of Romania. Romania was driven into the alliance with Nazi Germany because of the fact that the Soviet Union pressured Romania to give up Bessarabia, northeastern part of Romania. In this case, Romania felt that the only ally they could possibly align themselves to were the Nazi party within the Third Reich. And it can be said here, within Denton Dennis, the National Army of European Nations, the invasion of the Soviet Union, nothing could put Romanians on Germany's side, or mark a member of the Romanian Foreign Ministry, except the conviction that only Germany could keep the Soviets out of Romania, clearly stating this as proof and evidence. Back in the 1930s as well too, the Spanish Civil War would also kick off. with communists versus Nazis and fascists. The fascists will end up winning the war and setting up their own government within Spain. And they all blame the destruction of Spain afterwards on the communists and the far left, therefore trying to go ahead and align themselves with the Germans in this case. Clearly because of the fact that since the communists were viewed as a threat and the Soviet Union was communist itself, they would go ahead and send the Blue Division, an infamous division of the Spanish Blue Division, as I just stated from before, to help out and assist the Nazis with Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. My resolution to this research question would be that Europeans across Europe would assist in the Third Reich's conquest by believing with the same ideology, assisting for Third Reich's rewards, and uniting against a common enemy. And also my impacts to this research question would be not all fascists were Germans, and not all atrocities would be committed by Europeans, not by Europeans, but not all atrocities would be committed by Germans, as there are also other Europeans who are aligned to a far-right ideology as well too, and were committing just as bad acts as the Germans. Every German is not a Nazi, but not every Nazi is a German. Thank you for this presentation.
All right, Dayton, 2 questions for you. First up, what evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and why'd you choose not to use it?
I choose not to use the country of Bulgaria. Despite it being an Axis-aligned power back in the past, they only really assisted the Third Reich with oil refineries and didn't really contribute too much to the war effort. I don't believe there were any other European nations out there who would go ahead and try to align themselves to the Third Reich, other than countries like Norway, who only sponsored a party, and that was pretty much it.
Okay. And what advice would you have for other researchers in the future that consider this as a topic?
My advice to you would be to obviously search up the countries who were occupied by Germany to begin with, and to also look at any other countries that may have been occupied by other Axis powers, such as Italy and Romania and Hungary as well too.